Such an unusual gospel reading for today, probably more than a little bit outside most of our practical experience, although there's still quite a bit here. Jesus says that I am the gate for the sheep. And then to make that statement even more ironclad, he doubles down on it by explaining, I came that my sheep might have life and have it more abundantly. And of course, while Jesus is referring to sheep, he's really talking about his followers, and that would be you and me, each and every one of us. Growing up, I had two brothers and a sister, and one day my mom took us to Fred Meyer to do some shopping. I was probably 10 or 11 or so. While we were there, my younger brothers, Chris and Joe, were playing hide and go seek, and the youngest, Joe, somehow got himself lost. Now, I'm sure each one of us kids were acting up at the time, but I remember distinctly my mother's panic when she discovered that Joe was missing. He'd have been around 4, maybe 5. And I remember her telling the three of us to stay where we were, to hold on to the shopping cart and not to move until she got back. And she left us, calling his name quite loudly. And she ultimately found him hiding under a clothing rack. He probably hid there longer just because he thought he was in trouble and wanted to put that off, but she found him. I don't really remember how much trouble he was in when she found him, probably not very much, but I don't think that any of us ever hid from her again because we all knew how much pain that incident cost her. I think it's true to say that many of you parents, and I dare say many children of those same parents, know something of the panic that my mother experienced in those few minutes when my brother was lost from her. Well, today is Good Shepherd Sunday, and we always have a selection from the Good Shepherd chapter of John's Gospel every fourth Sunday of Easter. And one of the reasons that we hear it is to impress on us just how committed Jesus is to us, to not let any of us slip through the cracks, to become captured by someone or something else. As our responsorial psalm says, the Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want. And unless we personally decide otherwise, we belong to him, and he will do anything and everything to either keep us with him or to reclaim us if we stray. Anything and everything. Now, God's love is sometimes described as a burning, raging fire because it's so intense. And I've also heard it described as never-ending and reckless. And he gives it to us anyway, and on top of the fact that we can't earn it and that we don't deserve it. But despite all that, he still gives it to us because that's what God is. He is love, and he loves us far more than we will ever be able to comprehend, and far more than we can love our own children or each other. And that is a lot. So let me give you a little example of how this plays out. Many of us have children or friends that to varying degrees are no longer practicing the faith or who do things that we would rather they don't do. Maybe some have already passed away, and we're worried about where they are. And I know this can be a nightmare for some parents. And yes, we should continue to pray for our kids or our friends, as I know we all do, for God's grace on them or for their return to the church or to give up destructive behaviors, because as parents, well, that's our job and our responsibility as a loving parent or friend. I hear about it all the time, and I have great compassion and understanding for you. But today's gospel should also be a consolation for you. And I mean, you should be very consoled, because when you hear Jesus say that whoever enters through me will be saved, that's an amazing statement. Among several things, he's telling us that we can have confidence in him and we should trust him. Because what God says, he means. And as his creatures, whom he loves beyond all our ability to understand, well, who are we to dismiss his ways? And the point is that we should always pray for our children and for each other, always. But we should also never, ever underestimate the love that God shows us.